Good evening and thank you for joining us. It's another step in a return to normal for Thunder Bay and the rest of the province as more pandemic restrictions have been lifted today.
Social gatherings can now include up to 50 people inside and 100 people outdoors, and capacity limits have been eased at venues that require proof of vaccination. Vasilios Bellos spoke to the owners of a local gym and restaurant today and files this report.
This next phase of loosening COVID restrictions comes 4 days earlier than originally planned, as we have seen considerable drops in the provincial hospitalization numbers over the past month. Jen Bisignano is the owner of Push Fitness Center and remains cautiously optimistic that we won't have to take another step back.
I definitely said at the last reopening after the 6-month lockdown that this one felt different, and then it really wasn't very different at all. Obviously this one seems a little bit more enlightened, and one can hope that it is. I would say that as long as we don't see any more variants of the COVID virus that come up worse than the current one is, that we should now be learning to live with it.
Restaurants like Daytona's also breathing a sigh of relief, as they are able to operate at 100% capacity, with measures such as masking while not at your table still in place.
That's better the bottom line. I mean, when you have 4,000 square feet, it's an awful big takeout stand. And the staff we hire, we got everybody back. We normally have between 40 and 60 people that work for us, so it's nice to get everybody back to work.
Proof of vaccination still needs to be presented at their doors, something the province will be eliminating on March 1st. Businesses that still want to use the QR code past that date will be able to if they feel more comfortable, causing many owners to weigh the pros and cons. Collins says they will be dropping the QR code system come March 1st, but stressed that it was not an easy decision.
That scares me. That still makes me very nervous. Mind you, I have a family that has problems, medical problems and that, so we're always worried about the unvaccinated being in here and how easy it might be for the COVID to be spread that way there. I understand that even vaccinated doesn't cure you or stop it, but I'm a little nervous. But I'm glad we're moving in the right direction.
I know the government has said that businesses are still able to make the decision as to whether or not they wish to keep the vaccine passport as a mandatory requirement. I personally am not going to. The way I look at things right now is that people that have not yet received a booster, which was never mandated, depending on how long ago they got their second shot, they're essentially unvaccinated anyway.
With the QR code system set to be dropped on March 1st, masking requirements will still be in place. The province yet to determine when those will be dropped as well. Vasilios Bellos, TVT News.
Well, today's changes come 4 days earlier than scheduled, but as we heard there, it means thousands of businesses across the province can now operate as close to normal as possible. Colin DeMello has more.
Back in the gym, getting those gains. This is where Ontario's reopening is being felt today, as thousands of businesses can now operate without being hamstrung by capacity limits.
And now people feel more comfortable coming back to the gym, and I'm happy to see all my clients coming back slowly and steadily.
Ontario recently abandoned its slow and steady approach to reopening, as the Premier declared the province is done with COVID-19 restrictions.
Everyone's done with this. We are done with it.
Businesses that enforce proof of vaccination can now open at full capacity. That includes bars and restaurants, fitness facilities and gyms, cinemas, meeting and event spaces, convention centers, casinos, personal care services, and indoor religious settings. Sports facilities, concert venues, and theaters can now operate at 50% capacity, while nightclubs, wedding receptions, and event spaces with dancing can operate with 25% capacity limits. But the province is being urged to move forward with caution.
I do at the same time encourage the province to not hesitate in hitting the pause button if our trends start going in the wrong direction.
So where does Ontario stand right now? Well, ever since the reopening, wastewater data has shown COVID-19 cases seem to have plateaued. The chief medical officer of health, though, is not concerned.
Yes, they're plateauing, but they're plateauing at a very low level.
In fact, Dr. Kieran Moore is now considering removing other measures, such as the mandates that required colleges, universities, and hospitals to have vaccination policies in place.
They have served their purpose to protect us. I do think we should align their removal with the removal at a population level, so on March 1st.
And once the economy is completely reopened on March 1st, the province will then turn its attention to scaling back the masking policies. Still, some are urging the province to tread carefully.
I don't think we should suggest that the pandemic is over, because it isn't. It's a global event, and global events will continue to impact us here in Canada.
Warning that future variants and waves could complicate Ontario's situation.
The Thunder Bay District Medical Officer of Health thinks relaxing those restrictions could lead to more local cases of COVID-19. While many health units have seen a significant drop in COVID numbers lately, Dr. Janet DeMille notes that hasn't happened here. Corey Nordstrom has more.
The district's medical officer of health has been encouraged by the downward trend in case numbers locally, but with capacity limits and gathering sizes now increased, she believes that trend could reverse.
And of course, there's more reopening happening today, and that could actually reduce the speed at which we're declining. There could be sort of an increase in cases or COVID activity as a result of that.
The neighboring Northwestern Health Unit has seen its active case count more than double in the past week, leading to some strong recommendations by Dr. Kit Young-hoon. She is advising gatherings stay at 10 people indoors and 25 outdoors, rather than the 50 and 100-person numbers now allowed, as well as recommending that businesses stay at 50% capacity. Dr. DeMille wants people to stay vigilant, but she's not making similar recommendations or restrictions.
I certainly don't want to put on any additional restrictions, and I actually don't think they're warranted.
DeMille says she was fine with Ontario expanding gathering sizes and capacity limits 4 days ahead of schedule, but she wasn't thrilled about the Ford government ending proof of vaccination on March 1st instead of the original date of March 14th.
That longer time period between those steps would have allowed us to would have accommodated any increase of COVID activity that we might have seen, and it would have allowed us to continue sort of the drop that we're already experiencing prior to a further reopening.
Those aged 12 to 17 can now receive their third dose of the vaccine with no appointment needed at the Coliseum building. The health unit had been running 2 clinics on the CLE grounds in recent weeks, but the one at the Heritage building was shut down last week due to low demand and a new focus on targeted vaccinations. Corey Nordstrom, TVT News.
Okay, to the situation at the hospital now. While COVID-19 cases are falling in facilities across Ontario, the same can't be said locally. Thunder Bay Regional Hospital President Rhonda Crocker-Ellicott says case counts there have been high for several weeks now.
Today we're at 47, but our average census has moved from 27.9 in the month of January up to 46.2 on average during the month of February. So although we do see weekly cases coming down provincially and hospitalizations coming down provincially, unfortunately in the north, we're not quite there yet. We're seeing our trends continue.
Of the 47 COVID patients currently in hospital, 11 are in intensive care. The hospital is still operating above capacity, and the ICU is nearly full as well. The capacity issues continue to cause delays for people waiting on non-emergency surgeries. Crocker-Ellicott says they've been able to begin performing some of those procedures, and they plan to ramp up those surgeries further as soon as the numbers go down.
It's a balancing act, so we're working very closely with our clinicians to assess patient care need every single day with the available capacity and resource availability. So we're doing what we can in order to increase volumes because we know that there are significant patient needs and there's been significant delays and concerns with respect to postponement of these cases.
The Paleo DNA lab at Lakehead University has played a significant role in solving a 70-year-old mystery in Vancouver. The cold case known as Babes in the Woods involves a gruesome slaying of 2 children in Stanley Park, and police now can confirm their identities. This week, Vancouver police announced the two victims were brothers, Derek and David Dalton. Their skeletal remains were found in 1953, covered by a woman's fur coat, after they were killed with a hatchet that was located nearby. LU lab manager Stephen Propetro says his team successfully extracted the DNA from the children's bones, which was then sent to the U.S. for genome sequencing. That allowed for comparisons with public DNA bases and led to a match with one of the boys' living relatives. The Dalton family had moved to Canada from Russia, and Vancouver police theorized they were killed in the late 1940s by their mother, who had died about 25 years ago.
After a successful 12-month trial, officials at Eco Superior have decided to permanently adopt a 4-day work week for staff. The nonprofit agency proposed the idea back in September of 2020, and the 4-day work week was permanently implemented this month for its 11 employees. Eco Superior staff will now work 32 hours a week, but will still be paid the same as they were when they worked 35 hours. Depending on schedules, employees can still choose to work 5 days a week, 4 7-hour days and a 4-hour day. Eco Superior Executive Director Sue Hamill found through her experience that not only have employees' health and well-being improved, but their productivity has as well. And she encourages other employers to consider making the change.
I really feel like this movement towards working some kind of a condensed work week, or even if you call it a 4-day work week, is a really healthy decision for humanity, honestly. And I feel like it's healthy for people's mental health, physical health and well-being, their relationships with their family or loved ones or community.
A music major at Lakehead University is celebrating a big achievement. Jessica Hayes just returned from New York City, where she took first place at the 2022 Crescendo International Music Competition. Hayes was born and raised in Thunder Bay, and on Monday she sang at Carnegie Hall during the second round of the music competition, which took place over 3 days. Hayes competed in opera category against 35 other vocalists and won top prize in her division. With the victory, Hayes has been invited to participate in a student exchange program in Italy this summer. There, she'll get a chance to learn from renowned Italian musicians and perform at a classical theater halls.
I will be doing master classes, lectures, and performances all over Italy. So I think it'll be Florence, Venice, Cremona, Padova, and Tuscany. I feel like it'll just be great to be able to work with these renowned Italian musicians. They haven't come up with a lineup yet, but I mean, I think I'm going to be starstruck no matter who it is. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Congratulations to her. Quite a voice and quite an achievement.